.com, but you'll have to come to the Mississippi Trade Mart this weekend for Mississippi Comic Con or Comic Con Convention. It is a 2-day event, and it's being held, as I mentioned, as the Mississippi Trade Mart, and it will bring together a diverse list of guests. Joining us to tell us a little bit more is Jay Long and Clark Lee. They're with VXV, and they're all excited about this weekend. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so when someone says Comic Con, am I saying that right?
Yes.
Is coming to town, how do you guys respond and like what that is? How do you explain Comic Con to someone who's never been?
A pop culture festival, just a big pop culture and science fiction and fantasy gathering. Yeah.
It sounds like but an explosion of unique individuals coming to town to have fun.
Very.
Exactly.
So what all will you be able to experience? What all is going to be happening over the next couple of days? Because it starts tomorrow, right? Or is it Saturday and Sunday?
It's Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. So what all will be happening?
Well, there'll be a vendor floor where, of course, there's lots of vendors from all across the southeastern United States offering comic books and toys and collectibles and art and all kinds of fantastic stuff. And then there'll also be another part of the building that's where we have celebrity guests that for signing autographs, taking pictures, and et cetera.
And so when you talk about comic books, because we were just asking earlier what people's favorite comic character are or is, it spans lots of different action to Garfield to like everything in between. So does this bring everybody together, or is it kind of even niched within the world of comics?
Well, certain cons are niche-ish, and like just like mainly turtles, or maybe one that's maybe more like or all Power Rangers. That's more niche-ish, but this one is more just overall accepting. It's just a wide branch, everything from fantasy to sci-fi to anime or whatever you want.
When you talk about the celebrity guests that will be there, because comic books, I guess, from my limited understanding, are fictional characters. So are these people dressed up like the characters in the comic books, or how are they celebrity?
Down to minute detail.
Well, you're talking about
the guests.
Yes.
Well, I mean the con-goers,
Yeah,
the actual guests that will be coming.
Or like the celebrity guests.
The celebrity
guests.
They will be dressed up. I mean, you'll have we have actors from live action movies. Christopher Lloyd from the Back to the Future films. Sean Astin, of course, from the Hobbit movies or the Lord of the Rings movies. Gates McFadden from the Star Trek Next Generation series. There's some of the big names that are coming. But then we also have a lot of voice actors that'll be there as well. Scott Ennis, who did a lot of the voices with Scooby-Doo.
Sean Schimmel or Skimmel? Schimmel. He's the voice of Goku from Powerball.
Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball. I knew Powerball wasn't right.
No, but we hope you win, or we win. Somebody wins.
And two of the Power Rangers, two of the originals, the Red and the Black Ranger, Austin St. John and Walter Jones, they'll be there.
So this is just a good festival for someone who loves comics or shares a like of comics with their parents or I guess their kids, and it's hard to wrap your brain around what you will see or get into unless you come, right?
Right.
So when was the first time you guys went to a Comic-Con? Because I know people go, it's like your annual pilgrimage. So, I mean, you get excited about it every year. So how long have you guys been going?
Well, I actually, in a previous life, I actually owned a comic book store. So I did a lot in the comic book industry before I really ever went to a con. But I think probably the first con that I went to was in probably 1996. I think probably 1996 was the first one I went to. That was over in Atlanta at a big convention called Dragon Con. And I've been to Dragon Con, been to San Diego Comic Con. I've been to tons of them over the
How long have we had one here in Mississippi?
This is the 12th year.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So, Clark, when did you get into Comic-Con?
Comic-Con's
Or comics.
2007. Oh, comics.
Or either, yeah.
Well, Comic-Con was 2007. I didn't really go. I went to one, but it was more like just one or two vendors set up in a closet, and I was just like, okay, this isn't right. But for comics, I've read a couple of them, but mainly about 1983.
So 40 years.
Yeah.
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 So when I was born, you started reading comics. To put it in that perspective. Okay, so, I mean, Jay, you come from the background of, like, owning a comic book store. Do we even have those anymore? I hate to say that. I mean, ask.
There's still a couple, and, well, I think there's one here and locally, and the industry's kind of changing. I mean, it's, so many things have gone to online, and, there's digital versions and everything else. And so comic book stores are getting fewer and farther between, I guess, in the industry.
But it feels like the comic book interest is growing.
It is.
And is it thanks to the gatherings like Comic-Con and other things that allow like-minded people to come together? And
well, that's a big part of it. And, of course, it also the movie industry. I mean, comic book movies have become such a huge part of the entertainment industry that feeds a lot of the Comic-Cons all across the country.
So, Clark, I hear you are our historian.
Yes.
So what do people, like newbie comic, I guess, enjoyers, what do they fail to know or appreciate about comics historically?
Maybe some of the older artists that is like, like people with, we're talking about the X-Men or earlier. There's like some of the artists, some of the more lesser known artists that might have been good on a storyline, or just some more artists or writers that just kind of maybe they were around 20 years ago, and if you just get into it now, you're like, oh, who's that person, or who's that person? It's like, oh, this person drew the greatest. This person drew the 2-story arc that Days of Future Past, the movie, was based on. Or who's John Byrne? It's like, oh, that guy, he's an artist and writer, and he created Alpha Flight, and they'll be coming around in this movie or that movie. It's just some of the
The
kind of just
appreciation
older artists and older writers, we're lucky to have a guy that lives in Mississippi, Stephen Butler. He'll be coming to the con, and he's drawn some stuff. He's done popular stuff with Sonic the Hedgehog,
Mm-hmm.
and for those out there that have seen the new Spider-Man movie, the Scarlet Spider character that wasn't predominantly, but he was more shown than other characters. Steven's drawn and had things to do with him. So just kind of the more the outside of the
who paved the way, right? Like who paved the way in terms of where you're at now.
Yeah.
So Jay, how do we get tickets? Has it set up? How does all that work?
You can buy tickets in advance through our website, and which is MississippiComicCon.com. Or I think there's a couple of links on Facebook as well, and I think maybe you guys have it as well. And then that's through Tixer, or you can purchase at the door Saturday morning. Saturday morning or Sunday morning, although it's usually a longer line. If you buy the ticket in advance, you get in quicker. So.
That's true. All right, what is your biggest spiel to encourage folks who have never been to come and try it out for the first time?
Well, there's something for everyone at a Comic-Con. Even if you just go and sit there and just look at how weirdly the people are dressed. My dad was like that, but just go there. There's something for everyone. If even if everything from like just science fiction to fantasy, Star Wars. It's hard to find someone that doesn't like Star Wars. There's Star Wars groups, and people will come dressed in the costumes. And if you just like you'll find just different.
And even if you don't
stuff.
read comics, if you've got kids who like the latest Marvel movies, superhero things, they're going to see and enjoy things there as well, right, Jay?
Yeah.
Like it's like you'll something for everybody. You may find a trinket or something you didn't know you needed.
Absolutely. Like I said, from the vendor floor to countless collectibles, dealers from all over the country, celebrities from all over entertainment world. It's going to be great.
How many people usually come in for it?
Thousands.
Yeah, I would assume it's a big deal. Rhino always talks about it and saying it's a big deal. You guys always come and bring good information about it. So that is this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Go where to get the tickets?
MississippiComicCon.com, or which you can buy a ticket through Tixer, or I think there's links on Facebook and Instagram, and if you look for us, you can find a ticket.
All righty. Thank you for your time. You guys stick with us. We got more good for you coming up next. Were the Turtles a comic to start with? Oh my gosh, see? I'm totally in the dark when it comes to comics, but that's okay. That's why you should get out and go to the Mississippi Comic Con Convention. It is a 2-day event. It's coming up this weekend, and I was going to let our guests leave until I realized Clark Lee, who's won along with Jay Long, you just slipped in the fact that you had a little part, or you can explain it, in the movie Logan, which so many of us remember or recognize. I'm going to take it you're a huge Wolverine fan.
Oh yes, I own his first 12 appearances in comic book form.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how did this go about, and what, so how, yes, explain it.
I was hired, I went down to, I joined an extra company, and they called me and said, hey, do you still have your long hair? And I was like, no, I just cut it a couple of days ago. Well, do you still have your beard? It's like, yeah, okay, good, great. Being Louisiana at this point in time, and I went down there, and they put me in the makeup chair and gave me this slash on my face, and they dressed me up as a photo double for a stuntman who couldn't be there for a couple of days. And I was like, okay. So I went and I stood over by the stuntmen and got to know them and was talking, and then it was like, okay, go over there and lie down on the ground. So I laid down on the ground, and I was one of the guys that got killed at the farmhouse in the Wolverine movie, and Hugh Jackman's stunt double Eddie was there, and he was in my scenes, and then Hugh Jackman was there, and he was in what was in all my scenes. So my scenes were with Hugh stunt double, or Hugh and Hugh stunt double. But one of the best things was when I was getting my makeup done, and I'm talking with the guy that's doing my makeup. I have good peripheral vision, and I just noticed this. There's like a empty chair, and then another chair, and there's this guy holding this black 3-ring notebook or binder, and I'm like, look over there, and I'm like, Adam, yeah, is that Hugh Jackman? He goes, yeah. And I go, ah. And I was just like, oh. And he goes, are you a fan? I was like, I'm a Wolverine fan, yeah. And
so were you a Wolverine fan prior to like the movies?
Oh yeah,
yes. So.
Yeah, 1983, and. First time I saw him was in a Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends X-Men cartoon. It was I think it was the origin of Firestar, and it was I was like, okay, they gave him an Australian accent, and it was just like, oh, that's horrible.
So is it weird to watch Hugh Jackman and other things knowing that you know him as Wolverine?
Whenever he's in something that he sings, that's got to be for a paycheck, because Wolverine does not sing. Wolverine, no.
And
no.
Isn't it true he's beefing back up to bring Wolverine back?
Yes. Ryan Reynolds must have some pictures of Hugh Jackman leaving a Motel 6 with someone that he's blackmailing Hugh Jackman for. So Hugh came back.
Because didn't Wolverine die?
Oh, yes. And this is going to be an alternate universe Wolverine. So they're not touching Logan. He's dead, buried there. But another universe is Wolverine is still alive, and he's gonna play that one.
So the girl, was it his daughter in the one that he
Yes.
passed? I
Yeah.
mean, has she matured and now a bad, mamma jamma?
Oh yeah, she's one of the most lethal people in comics. She takes out just these big powerhouses.
Who would they cast for her now as a grown woman?
A grown woman.
I mean, I'm always looking for a second job. I'm just kidding.
I think that the lady that played Supergirl in the Flash movie would do well.
Yeah.
It just age her up some, but she's always been she's been portrayed as like a 13 or 14-year-old for like a decade in comics. But the one that they got, I think her name was Daphne. When they used her, there was this one scene where she jumps up onto the hood of the car and like stares into the windshield. That is a perfect likeness of the comic book character, and it was like, oh my goodness.
Is Wolverine still put out new editions?
Oh yeah.
How often do they come out?
At least once a month, and sometimes multiple issues in a month.
Do you have every single one of them?
Oh no, I don't
That's
make that
impossible.
much money.
Okay.
But when I was in comics, yes, I did. When I collected regularly, yes, I did.
Do you store them all somewhere?
Oh yeah, I have 15 short boxes, about 3 feet long. How long is a short box? 18 inches. And then a long box is 36 inches. And I have about 24 to 25 of those in my collection.
Well, one day you'll have to set up like a museum exhibit or something of all your Wolverine collections, and you'll have to come let us know when you do that, right?
Oh, I will.
But they can meet you or see everything and all of that. They can find it at the Mississippi Comic Convention. Again, that's this Saturday and Sunday at the Mississippi Trade Mart. But thank you, Jay. Thank you, Clark, for hanging around and sharing your love of comics. But you guys stick with this. You got more coming up next with Sports Talk Mississippi from 3 to 6. Rhino and I will meet you back here tomorrow at 2. But until then, I hope you all find time for the good.